Great team win. A lot of, I think, outstanding performances individually, but more importantly, collectively as a team. We had big plays on offense, big plays on defense, big plays in the kicking game, and just really proud of our guys' resiliency to come back, find a way to win on the road, and get us back to 500 for the season. So with that, how about some questions, please?
We've got mic holders on both sides of the room, so please get their attention.
Fitz, would you have thought an outburst like this was possible, 54 points?
Well, not against Michigan State's defense, no. I think Coach D'Antonio and his defensive staff do a terrific job, but we had some huge plays offensively today. You know, I thought some of the corner balls that were caught by our wide receivers needed great protection and needed a great throw, and then they finished the job. And to see the way that our guys are executing right now at a pretty darn high level, I think makes it challenging as a defense. You know, we've got pretty good balance. You know, 209 on the ground, 281 in the air. You know, I think anytime you've got that type of balance, it gives you an opportunity to you know, have some success. But to be able to run the ball the way that we did today, really great credit to our offensive line, you know, especially those guys up front. You know, they've taken a lot of grief, and they understand their role, and I think they really stepped up well today.
What did you tell Clayton after that first pick? He was phenomenal from that point on.
Yeah, you know, I just asked, I said, what was the coverage? He told me the exact coverage that they were in, what we actually thought they were going to be in, and then we had a route concept that I believe was open. It looked like it was from the boundary that we expected to go to, and I think he just made a decision that he'd like to have back because he told me after the play I should have thrown it to that route. And when you see that type of maturity from a younger player, I mean, he's still a redshirt sophomore, to number one, understand what they were in, understand he made a mistake and own it, I think shows you why he came back and played as well as he did. He didn't lose his composure, didn't get upset. I think you see the way that we manage our guys in the boundary, focus issues, effort issues. I'll be pretty demonstrative. We'll be pretty demonstrative as a staff. But, you know, sometimes bad things happen, and it's more about how you respond than what happens. And I thought he responded boldly.
Coach, you have talked about having balance offensively, and it's one of these things where earlier in the year you couldn't run the ball and really had to put a lot on Clayton's shoulders. And now, the last couple games, you've been able to run the ball. How important is it to be able to find success early and then have Mick be able to open the playbook and be able to have that balance?
Well, you know, I think, I don't know, you guys will probably post some things that we win when we run the ball well, right? I don't know. Somebody told me that once, so it's shocking, you know, football. When you're able to run it, you usually win. So it's critically important. It's critically important to be able to run the ball. It then gives you, you know, obviously the two dimensions because you got play action pass, and you got an opportunity then to get people to come down into the box and throw the ball over their head. A year ago, we couldn't do that. You know, right now we're able to do that, and I think that's through a lot of hard work. I think our guys have really been grinding. You're right. Early in the year, we weren't a very good team. We had some guys come out of camp that didn't practice a lot because of some injuries during camp. And again, I'm not trying to make excuses. It just was what it was, and we could either pout and feel sorry for ourselves and start to point fingers, or we could just stay on the grind and keep the pedal down, and that's a credit to our coaches and most importantly a credit to our players. The only way we were going to get it fixed is us. That was the only way, and we're far from the finished product as a team, but we're definitely giving ourselves a chance to win games because at least for the most part right now offensively in the kicking game, we're executing. Our secondary play on the other hand was abysmal. Our focus, our discipline, our communication. We're getting some guys right now with a baptism under fire, and so to speak, and they've got to grow up, and they've got to grow up in a hurry, you know. And some of our other players that are veterans have got to make plays. You're in position to make a play. You have to make a play. You can't tip it for a guy to score, you know, different things like that. So that group's got to get a lot better. Period. Because we don't, you know, we've got some other guys that maybe we'll again see if we can have some competition, but. Right now, we're running out of guys in that position. Those guys have got to play with better focus, and they got to play with better discipline. Credit Michigan State. Obviously, they took advantage of our inability to do that.
Coach, the offensive line had a pretty tough start to the year. What have you seen in the last two games that showed they kind of turned a corner?
That I'm glad that you stopped asking me about the beginning of the year. That's what I'm happy, right? I mean, it's we were very good at the beginning of the year, so it just is what it is. I mean, I have zero answers besides we didn't coach well enough and we didn't play well enough, but we've stayed the course and we've kept grinding, and good things usually happen when you respond. And you know, I think our guys have responded pretty well offensively and especially in the offensive line. And see the way JB stepped up today with Connor being out. I thought was absolutely outstanding. Outstanding by that young man. Incredibly proud of him. I'm not surprised. He's a young man that's just been waiting for his opportunity, and really proud of the way he stepped up.
So, Coach, earlier this season, you talked about having a dude in the punt return game, but is Solomon a dude when it comes to kick returns?
So let's stop the earlier in the season stuff, all right? All right, no more, okay? We're week 7 now. Yeah, he's been a pretty good dynamic kickoff return guy. You know, I mean, last year he should have had, I think he had a couple for touchdowns, and yeah, I think he's coming into his own. You know, he put the ball on the ground, which is unacceptable, and then basically did it almost again on another play. So his ball security's got to go up, but you know he's learning how to be an every down wide receiver, but from a kick return standpoint, I think it shows his explosiveness. Yeah. So yeah, he's dude-ish.
How important was that kick return for touchdown late in the third? Michigan State just gotten 2 long scores, had the crowd on their side. How did that turn the momentum?
Yeah, we gave them Uncle Mo. You know, momentum went right over to their sideline because I thought we started the third quarter really well. And, you know, we give up 2 explosive plays for touchdowns, which one we tipped the ball, and the other one we have 2 safeties on a different page, and we should have a guy in the post. That should be an interception. I thought Hank called a great call. He expected them to take a shot down the field, and we got 2 safeties looking at each other at the end of the play. So those guys got to get a lot better. You know, I mean, they've got to get a lot better, and that whole group. And so it starts with us as coaches. We'll look at things. I'll look at it. Hank will look at it. JB will look at it. We'll start with us. We'll grind on it, and then we'll present solutions.
And one more. Last week
Yeah,
you talked about the punt coverage being a problem.
Yeah.
Today seemed like it was a lot better. What did you work on this week, and how did they respond?
Yeah, well, we made some personnel changes in our coverage units, as you saw today. We right now, some of our guys that are twos are what most coaches in the country call comfortable twos. You ride the bus, you eat the steak, you know, you get to go enjoy everything, but maybe I'll go out there, maybe I won't. You know, mom gets to wear my button on the sideline, everybody's happy, right? And then you go out there and you get thrust into play and you get your fanny whipped and you get embarrassed like we did in our coverage units against Iowa, and I just fired them. I just said, you're done. We're going with these guys, and if they've got to play 300 kick reps and 300 defensive reps, then that's what we're going to do, and you've got to earn your job back. And I thought the way that both of our coverage units were today was much better, obviously, except for the protection at the end that we had a bust, that we had a mental error on our right wing. So we've got to get that fixed because that's how you lose football games. You lose football games giving up block punts. So outside of that, I thought our kicking game was pretty good. Maybe one of our better games of the year.
Lots more chunk plays, big plays, explosion plays, whatever you want to call them, the last couple of weeks. Have you seen something specifically in Clayton where he's become more comfortable and just more at home in leading this offense the last couple of games?
Yeah, but I think it's just, again, he's maturing in the offense, right? I mean, we're 6 games in, 13 last year, right? He's 19 games into his career, and he's starting to become, I think, comfortable. I think he's, like I said, his confidence has been building. I thought our coaching staff did a great job preparing our offense this week. I don't think there were a lot of things that we saw today that we didn't practice, and it was really on all 3 phases. But that's when you get in a Big Ten play. That's typically what you expect. The shenanigans are kind of gone in the non-conference. And, you know, I thought Mick did a really good job preparing them, and I thought we handled the adversity early really, really well, and in particular Clayton. You know, I just think he just needs to keep going, just keep grinding. He's 19 games into his career, and he's doing a pretty good job. He's giving us a chance to win.
You said you got what you expected out of Michigan State or beyond.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think is going on?
Well, they've got a lot of injuries, first of all. They're a really beat-up football team, and then they had more guys go down today at different times in the game. You know, and that's difficult. It's challenging. Anytime you go into the season with the expectations of personnel, and now all of a sudden, again, some of those twos get thrust into those roles, and maybe mentally they weren't quite ready for what they needed to do. I mean, you think back to Anthony's first year. There's a lot of different guys that I could cite in our program that their first year, maybe they were played really well, and then there was the dip of just the inexperience and understanding just how hard it is to be consistent. That's what just my opinion of football. From a Michigan State standpoint, I think that's probably a much better question for Mark. I think they've got outstanding talent. I think they're very well coached fundamentally. I think they're very well coached schematically. I mean, I just think our guys executed at a pretty darn high level today offensively. And when you do that, it makes it hard as a defense. It really does. And you're looking at the penalties, we had 4 for 25 yards, and I think 3 of those were false starts, if I'm not mistaken. And one was a block in the back on a punt return, or a holding call on a punt return. So again, playing pretty much penalty-free football, which I think as an offense really helps you. Those 3 pre-snap penalties, we can't have that. That's got to get fixed.
I didn't know much about Gaziano coming into this game. He had that incredible sack in the end zone, and he jumped on a ball later. What can you tell us about him and his progress?
Yeah, Joey was a guy that, we targeted early in recruiting. Bob Hefner did a great job recruiting Joe. I mean, he's the Massachusetts Player of the Year. He's a young pup, man. He's just a young guy that to us has really worked hard to get stronger. He's really worked hard to improve. He won kind of the young defensive end lottery last year, watching the way that Dean and Deontay went about their business, learning right now from Xavier and from Afadi, and looked like just a great push-pull rep. Look how he went bull to power, or power to speed, and did a great job push-pull, and did a nice job finishing that rep.
One of the things that the team struggled with last year was drops. Not earlier in the season. Last year was drops. And then this year, it seems like you've gotten contributions, obviously from Austin, but Flynn Nagel, Career Day, just guys all over, even Andrew Scanlon as a senior guy that stepped up. What can you say about that group, their development from last year to this year?
Well, this group we thought was pretty darn talented coming back. I thought they had a really good offseason. 99.9% of the time, the outside noise of your program, you shut off. It is what it is. And it's no disrespect to what you guys do. I get it. I mean, I get it totally. When we play poorly, it starts with me and trickles down through the whole program, and it should. That's what you get paid to do, and that's the expectation as the head coach. But then occasionally you use some of that noise to make guys mad. And our receiving core had enough noise here over the last 2 years that was probably very well deserved. We mentally busted a bunch. We dropped the ball. A lot of these guys were kind of the twos, and I think they watched. I think it goes back to preparation. I think this group is really prepared well. I think they put a chip on their shoulder in the offseason. They've been talking all offseason about being all in. They are all in. They're all in their preparation in the weight room, the way they conditioned, the way they go about their business each week. And to me, it's not to be a slight at the guys of the past, but I think it was a self-realization that maybe as a group collectively, they weren't all in. And to see the job that they've done, I'm very, very proud of them, and I'm not surprised at all because they put the work in to have that type of consistency. So really proud of Andrew Scanlon, a guy that came into the year that maybe in another program, you sit there and you say, all right, a guy doesn't have very many catches. Maybe you say, hey, good luck, it's time to graduate, and you move on. I just thought that, his nickname's the Bull, and I just thought he brought an attitude to the room, and he was hungry, and he's been through a lot of adversity in his life. And I think as kind of the grandpa of the group, I think he's done a really good job of imparting wisdom on the young players. I think he's had a great work ethic. I think he's done a great job in the roles we've asked him to be in the kicking game, and I think he really complements Austin in a leadership role very well. Austin's a little bit, you guys have talked to Austin. I mean, he's a really, really, really nice guy. Really nice. And Andrew's a little bit of a different demeanor. And I think that demeanor is what's been needed in that room. And I'm really proud of how he's persevered and stayed the course.